Alright guys, welcome back to 2022. I hope everyone had a safe and enjoyable Christmas and New Year's with their family. It's good to be back. The first video is going to be a relatively easy one. Basically, I posted a quick 30-40 second clip on Instagram, I think it was, showing how I go about finding the lands. There's quite a few shooters who had different ways of doing things, so I thought it'd be pretty cool just to do probably a two-parter, I'd say, and go through different ways to find the lands. Which ones are repeatable, which ones are easy, which one's going to be more beneficial for you guys and how you guys set your stuff up. The first two that we'll go through is basically using the Hornady overall length gauge, and the second technique will be the one that I posted up on Instagram. Your bolt will basically tell you when you're engaged in the lands and off the lands. So they're the two that we'll go through this episode, and we'll go through another two in an episode maybe next or the one after that, depending on what COVID does. Because I want to get out and start shooting and finishing off that load development series for you guys. So stick around and we will go through the first two. Alright, so the first way, this is probably the quickest way and easiest way, depending on how accurate you want to get. This here is a case that's just bought off the shelf. It's a 6.5 Creedmoor case that's already tapped on the bottom. It's just a metal rod with a plastic guide rod that goes to the center. All it does is push the projectile through the case until it engages the lands, and then you lock it off with this little screw tension lock here. And then it's got a little insert cutout. You can use your calipers to then get your base to ogive measurement for the lands. So what we're going to do is, ideally you want to use a case that's already fired and matches your chamber, and get your smith or somebody, if you can do it yourself, is tap the bottom of that and use that, because the shoulder bump will give you a variation between your seating depth or your base to ogive measurement. So I'm predicting this here being a semi-spec, I'm probably going to be about 4 or 5 thou difference between this and some of the other methods that I know work. So this one here is the standard semi one. We'll just screw that one on. Make sure that's all the way down. So as you can see, that just floats in and out there quite easily. So we're going to push that down, insert it, make sure the shoulder's engaged. Then you're just going to push the plastic rod through till it engages the lands. Give it a quick little tap and let it settle. Screw that off and just push that back through. Now this here should be my base to ogive measurement using the overall length gauge. So this here gives me 2.2245. 2.2245. So what we'll do is write that down, 2.224, and that's for the overall length gauge. Alright, so we'll do the second option, which is the way I prefer to do it. It's quite repeatable, it's easy to do, and you don't need to go out and buy modified cases or spend extra money on gauges. You can do this at home. You do have to take the bolt apart slightly and take a few bits off. I can't show that due to the legislations through YouTube, so we'll pick up with the bolt disassembled and we'll kick into the second one. Alright, so we've got the bolt, we've removed the spring and the ejector. So there's no tension on this bolt whatsoever now, so it'll just drop under its own weight. So what we're doing here is letting the bolt tell us when we're engaged in the land and when we're not. So when you engage the lands, there's going to be basically too much tension on this projectile pushing back on the bolt, and it's not going to want to drop. The further you seat your bullet in, the less tension there's going to be, and this is going to want to drop further and further down until it drops under its own weight, and that is then telling you that basically the bullet is just off the lands from when your last measurement is. So as you get closer, as your bolt starts dropping further and further, the increments that you seat your bullet in, just drop them to 2 thou or something like that. Seat long, and as this bolt starts getting closer and closer to dropping under its own weight, get more finer adjustments and seat that less and less basically. So what I'm going to do is just seat this long. Put this in and see where we're at. This will give us a starting point. All right, so you can see the bullet is engaging the lands and the bolt's not dropping. So we know we're still in the lands. Just gonna pull this out, sorry for the noise. And we're gonna drop that, say 5 thou. The good thing with this method is you can do this over and over again and get the same results. So it's definitely repeatable. No, it's still there. Went a little bit further. Drop that to another 5. Dropped a little bit more, so we'll go another 5, I'm guessing. It's getting pretty close, so after this one here I'm guessing I'll come down, start coming down a point. Oh, sorry, 2 increments. No, okay. All right, so you can see that that's come down under its own weight. So what that's telling me now is from my previous measurement, I've come back 5 and I'm now out of the land. So I went too far, but you get the idea. So what we'll do here is measure that, and we're at 2230. So 2230. So that's 6 thou, 5.5 thou difference from our first one. Like I said, the shoulder bump is going to change your overall base to ogive measurement. So pros and cons. So the Hornady overall length gauge is around 60 to 80 bucks. So you do have to buy this. You can use it with other cases. You just got to buy the modified case. So you got to buy 2 separate parts. It's accurate, it's quick. Other people can use it and still get very close results to what you did. Downside is you've got to pay money to do this or to use that method. The second one, which is the method that I tend to use myself, doesn't cost any money. There is a little bit of mucking around, pulling the bolt apart, stuff like that. But generally you got to pull it apart anyway to clean it and stuff like that, so it doesn't really faze me that much. But they're the 2 methods. The other 2 is going to be using a Sharpie, which is basically the same method, seeing the projectile in until you don't see a ring on the Sharpie, and using the lock. So that's also a good method that's used by heaps of guys. Hopefully that helped. The next episode may not be that one, it might be another reloading one, depending on what the weather does and what this whole COVID situation blows up to be. So not too sure what the next one will be, but it'll be in about 2 weeks anyway. So stay safe guys, and I'll catch you next vid.